All right, we're back. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rambling Men Sports Podcast. It's good to be back. Uh, it's been way too long. James, how you been?
Busy, man. Just like you, very, very busy. But there's been some cool shit going on in the sports
There
world.
has been. We got a jam-packed show today, full of football and a little bit of baseball. Usually we probably wouldn't do baseball this time of year, but I mean, pretty big scandals going on right now. So let's go ahead and start. Do you want to start with the NFL storylines and save the championship or conference championships for later?
Sure.
Okay. So some of the storylines that have been going on this postseason. So the big one though, the Patriots losing to the Titans in the wild card round, have not been looking good the last few weeks. James, what do you think? Are the Patriots, is the dynasty over?
Definitely is. Look at it. Are the Patriots all of a sudden going to be a 500 football team or something like that? Absolutely not. I think being able to pencil them in 15 wins a year and a 1 or 2 seed just right off the bat without even thinking about it, I still do think they can still have a chance at a top 2 or 3 seed next year, but absolutely dominant or done. It's not a dominant.
Dang it.
Especially late in their week.
This is just unfortunate.
When it gets into those January games, man, you can just tell their arms are tired. Wherever, but he's on his way out next year. Should probably another year. He doesn't.
Dude, I'll be honest. I got maybe 4 words out of that. You went in and out the entire time.
No.
Yeah.
Damn, man. In short, yes, he is done. It's done.
I agree with you. Like, does this mean that they can't somehow manage another Super Bowl? I don't necessarily think so. Can they go to another Super Bowl? Sure, but they're still going to dominate their division. The Miami's still rebuilding. The Jets are rebuilding. The Bills are the only team that's a playoff team right now. And even then, I'm not sure that they.
And that
they
roster, man, it's just the roster's not as good as everyone tried to make it out.
No, I said that
really
last year.
And it kind of in the beginning of the year when they were rolling and everything, people were talking, and it's not, man. Nobody on that whole team scares you on either side of the ball besides Stephon Gilmore. I'd say he's the only elite player on that whole team anymore.
Yeah. The biggest one is obviously I think David Andrews getting hurt, or not getting hurt, but having blood clots in the preseason. That was huge. I mean, the offensive line was not the same. They did have some injuries. I saw some New England fans complaining about how they had Marshall Newhouse at left tackle, and that's why they weren't any good. I was like, dude, Marshall Newhouse was the left tackle in Green Bay, and they still managed to go 15-1.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, he's maybe average, but I mean, you can't.
He's not any good, but like that's not the reason. But yeah, and the people saying that Brady still has it. I don't know what game they were watching in that wild card round. He was not good.
And what casual fans have a very strong inclination to do is look at the box score at the end of the games instead of actually watching football.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you can tell who doesn't know football when they sit there and always try to bring up stats and things like that. Man, football, watch the game, and you can play him well and who isn't. A guy could have a two interception day and still have a very, very good day if you watch the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It really depends.
This was his box score. 20 for 37, 209 yards, 5.6 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, an interception which really wasn't his fault. And a quarterback rating of 59.4. I don't know what game these New England fans were watching. He was not any good, and I get that he didn't have the best weapons outside of Edelman, but I think for the most part, he's done. I mean, not saying he still can't put together a good year, but...
Exactly. Yep. You're not going to win because of Tom Brady anymore on a consistent basis. I think he can win you as a good game, but yeah, agreed.
for anyone who's saying that I'm just a Brady hater, I'm not. I've said the same thing about Aaron Rodgers this year. I don't think he's a guy that can go out there and carry the team anymore. He's going to need some help. Does that mean he can't go out there and have a great game? Absolutely not. We saw that last week. But he's going to need some help. He can't carry the team anymore. As far as I know, maybe they've just saved him for this playoff. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see.
Exactly. So, second one, New Orleans loses to Minnesota in the wild card round as well. James, I'll be honest. I think I texted you this. I think New Orleans has some serious question marks going into this offseason. All three of their quarterbacks are free agents. Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater, and Taysom Hill. They have $4 million in cap space. They have to pay, and then they have to pay, Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk and Alvin Kamara and a few other key guys, Marcus Williams, another. I think New Orleans is in big trouble.
Honestly, first of all, let me say I don't like the Saints. The only person on that entire team I like is Drew Brees. Everyone else on that team is a scumbag. They really are. They sit there. I saw this tweet the other day, and they're like, my favorite new NFL tradition is the Saints sitting at home tweeting in January about how they're the best team in the NFL. Yep. It's so annoying. I have so much respect for Michael Thomas, but I don't know if you saw, he had like a back and forth with a Saints beat writer the other day, and it was just the beat writer didn't say anything wrong, and he was just being the nastiest person to him. And it's just like, dude, this has been 3 years in a row. Everyone on your team is just basically talking a lot of shit. Like, win the football game. You should have beat Minnesota. You had plenty of chances to beat the Rams, including in overtime.
Yep.
And then you simply got your ass kicked by by Kirk Cousins at home the other day.
That game, I know that they put it together at the end, but that was virtually an ass kicking for the first three quarters.
No, it was. That game, it wasn't as close as scoring it. They got that. And Drew Brees outplayed, Kirk Cousins outplayed Drew Brees.
Yep. That's another quarterback. We just talked about Tom Brady. Drew Brees, I watched that game, and I really think he's lost it.
He's done, bro. He's done. Drew Brees is done.
They'll probably re-sign him, but I don't see them winning a title anytime soon if he continues to play like that.
He can play good in the beginning part of the season when his arm is still fresh, man. But dude, he had off a month this season and still looked dead at the end of the season. I mean, imagine if he played that month. He probably wouldn't be able to throw the ball 15 yards by the playoff game.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I honestly think they had a better window than anyone else in the entire NFL, and they
just 3 years ago. Just 3 years ago.
Yep.
No, less than that. Well, technically it is 3 years, 2020, but just 2 seasons ago, 2017, they had Alvin Kamara was a rookie, Marcus Williams was a rookie, Ryan Ramczyk a rookie, Michael Thomas was in his second year, Drew Brees was playing well, and I'm like, oh, this team could really put it together, and they're 1-3 in the playoffs.
Yep. Unless you are the Patriots,
and in a weak division.
Yeah, in a weak division. Unless you're the Patriots, you 3 or 4 years to win a Super Bowl, and then you got to start rebuilding again. That's it. You don't get these 10-year windows unless you are the Packers and got Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah, unless you have a guy who's in his prime, but Drew Brees was not in his prime when that team was put together.
Yeah, but ultimately, man, I don't know. I'm really conflicted on them because they're probably still going to win 12 games next year. They still have a really good roster.
Well, what team in that division is going to contend with them? Carolina is in a serious rebuild right now with Luke Kuechly retiring, which I didn't bring that up.
To be honest with you, the Buccaneers might be their biggest competition next year, which is pretty funny.
I would still probably say Atlanta. Tampa Bay has got to figure out the quarterback position. I don't care. Drew Brees just threw 30 interceptions.
Winston, you mean? Yeah, I know.
What did I say?
I agree.
Did I say someone else?
But you said, you said Drew Brees.
Oh, did I? My bad.
But I think it's going to be hard for Winston to throw 30 picks again. I think that's legitimately difficult to do. So I'm seeing maybe 20 picks out of him next year. And so I don't know. We'll see. Bruce Arians is a really good coach.
Yeah, that's the one thing going for him right now.
They actually have a damn good roster, to be honest with you. If they keep Shaq Barrett and everything like that, they have some good players. But dude, the Saints are in a slightly less worse position than the Pats, but in a pretty similar position.
Yeah, I don't know what they do. I mean, they're gonna. They can't pay Drew Brees. They can't pay. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater's out anyway. Taysom Hill is the guy I think you got to bring back. He was dynamic in that playoff game. He's the only reason why that game was even close.
They'll re-sign him.
They'll find a way, but then you're going to have to get rid of some guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you go from here, but I think New Orleans is in some serious trouble. Then next up is Baltimore. Had the best regular season, went 14-2, and then one and done in the playoffs. Lost to Tennessee at home. Do you think? I don't think it is. Do you think the criticism of Lamar Jackson is fair?
What are they actually saying? Because
I've just seen them say, how he was a great regular season player. Didn't put it together in the playoffs.
First
whatever.
of all, I mean, criticism is always warranted because no player is perfect,
right.
But it depends on where you're coming from with. I mean, dude, Lamar Jackson is like what, 22?
Maybe.
Like, dude, he's a great player, and the reason I know he's going to be successful is because he's a very hard worker. He will be just fine. He might not ever win a Super Bowl, but he could. But he's going to win a lot of playoff games for the Ravens over these years, man.
Yeah,
he's a great player. As long as he stays healthy, dude, his record in a Ravens uniform as a starter is absurd.
Yeah.
It's like Jimmy G's in San Francisco. I mean, he wins games. Like,
yeah.
They're going to be fine. It is going to be hard for them to win in January with the style of football that they're playing because what's going to happen is they're going to end up playing the same team twice, and they're going to have a better game plan than the second time. I mean, it's really going to come down to that. I think they're built to beat teams like the Chiefs and teams like the just these high scoring like offenses, but they're not built to beat teams that can stop the run. Like, I honestly think teams like Philadelphia, Green Bay's really good against the run too. Am I not mistaken? But like, just teams that can stop the run, I think would do fairly well against them. And if you make them beat them with your arm, I mean, you got a pretty good chance. No, any criticism going towards Lamar Jackson, because if you watch that game, they didn't lose because of him.
Yeah.
A few coaching decisions, which I agreed with, but to go for it inside the 20 multiple times and not get it. He had a couple of drop touchdowns that I watched with my own eyes. I mean, they could have at least been in that game. I think criticism can be warranted, though, that when you rely a lot on your legs and design QB runs and things like that, it can be a little bit easier to stop after they have a whole year of game film use. So I honestly think that was more on coaching than anything, but I also just think, man, Mike Vrabel had his team ready to go, and Derrick Henry might be the workhorse of the NFL right now. I honestly think they just caught Derrick Henry in a stretch nobody was going to stop him in. So
I'll say this: they had a few times I didn't mind their decision to go for it on fourth down, but the play calling I thought was atrocious on the fourth down plays that they called. But they had the ball. If I'm not mistaken, it was 14-6 at one point. Yep. And Baltimore had the ball inside the red zone, and I think
they were inside the 10. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure too, and I think that they went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. So I remember at that point they're in the red zone, and I'm like, oh, here comes Baltimore. They're going to get it together. But I think clearly it's none of this is really on Lamar Jackson. I think he certainly didn't play well, but defense couldn't stop Derrick Henry. The offense just looked lackluster in general.
And let me say this about Lamar Jackson not having a great game. I don't think he crumbled to the pressure.
No.
That's why he didn't have a great game. I think Tennessee just played him well. He had a couple of drops and tip passes, and it's just, dude, you can't play a perfect game every week, and he did that for 2 months straight. It's just a shame that they caught him in the playoffs. I honestly, in my opinion, I think their bye week hurt him.
I think the 3-week layoff hurt them. They rested guys in the week 17. They had a week off, then a week to prepare. That was 3 weeks. I think that really takes a toll. I watched Green Bay do that in 2011.
It definitely does. You're right.
Next up, Houston. I'll be honest, dude, with this game, Houston. So they're down 16-0, I think, to Buffalo in the wild card round. Everyone's saying fire Bill O'Brien, and they come back and win the game. The next week, I'm like, let's see what they can do. They're up 24-0 on Kansas City. I'm like, where are the fire Bill O'Brien people now? And then they get outscored 51-7 the rest of the way. Do the Texans need a coaching change?
Yes.
I think so too.
It's not even. I don't even. You don't.
No, I do.
And I don't even think it's necessarily that Bill O'Brien is a bad coach. I just think they've plateaued with him as their coach. I think that divisional round, maybe if Deshaun Watson has an amazing game, there certainly could be AFC Championship.
I mean, they were a half, or not a half. It was 3/4 away from an AFC title. Just don't screw it up.
If they can get a very talented offensive coach and get a couple of offensive linemen, they're a 13-win team. I mean, they're
I agree.
very good.
And I'll be honest, I was listening to Lefko talk about this. Your doppelganger, as I like to say. But he was talking about how Seattle has become the new. I didn't have this in the budget, but I just thought about it, and I've been meaning to text you about it. How Seattle has become the new Green Bay, and they're wasting Russell Wilson's prime.
I would agree. They're not necessarily investing a lot of draft picks where they should be. I think they've had a couple of really stupid draft picks over the past few years.
Yeah.
But Seattle's always going to be fine. And
it's like Green Bay. As long as they have Russell Wilson, they're going to be fine. But their defense wasn't. I thought their defense was horrible this year. And look at the statistics that were horrible. They don't have a good offensive line. It feels like the Colts a few years ago, where they just neglected the offensive line for years. But they're getting away with it because Russell Wilson can avoid sacks.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I just think ultimately Bill O'Brien can go somewhere else and be a successful coach. I just think the same way with like Andy Reid and the Eagles back in the day. Like, should Andy Reid ever be fired? No, because he's a top 5 coach. But eventually, same with Mike McCarthy. Eventually, you hit a plateau with a coach, and you just need a change. And you see what it did for the Eagles and the Packers.
Yep.
They both absolutely exploded after they got rid of coaches. They had great years after that. Just you need some rejuvenation in the locker room, and I honestly think that's going to happen with Seattle here in the next couple of years when Carroll retires. I think they're going to jump back.
Yeah, do you know how old he is?
He's like 70 years old.
I had no idea he was over 70.
He looks great. That's
I know. That's bonkers.
Looks awesome for that age.
What I would love, honestly, and this is kind of a good segue to the coaching carousel. What I would love is if Houston hired Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City.
Somebody needs to hire that.
I know.
They've been talking about him getting. First of all, Andy Reid has the best coaching tree in the NFL. Like, if he knows Andy Reid, I'm hiring him. Like, come on. He's the new Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren had the best coaching tree for years, and now I think it's Andy Reid. Well, technically,
it is the same coaching tree, yeah.
It's like, dude, Harbaugh, Peterson, Nagy, like all these guys came from Reid. Like, that's where you need to go. Grab
Nagy.
Andy Reid's offensive coordinator. Sean McDermott. All these guys are under him.
Yeah.
All these guys.
I agree.
Bill O'Brien.
Do what?
No, Bill O'Brien was Belichick, but you know what I mean.
You left Matt Nagy.
He's not a bad coach. I think
either.
He can handle himself better at the podium, but I think X's and O's is a great coach.
I think he's fine, but yeah, he's a bit of an ass, and I think he's lost all respect for Mitch Trubisky.
Oh no, he's done with Trubisky, bro. That's why they just brought in DeFilippo from They're going to try to coach him up a little bit, so we'll see.
Coaching carousel, some of the moves. Ron Rivera goes to the Redskins. Mike McCarthy to Dallas Cowboys, which hurts me. The most surprising, though, is obviously, I think, Matt Rule to the Carolina Panthers, Joe Judge to the Giants, and Kevin Stefanski to the Browns. I'll be honest, James. I think all of these were kind of subpar hires.
Matt Rule was my favorite. I think
that's probably the most underrated is Matt Rule.
I think Rivera, McCarthy, and Rule were all good hires. I can tell you right now, as good of coaches as Rivera and McCarthy are, neither of them scare me one bit. Doug Peterson, I think, is better than both of them.
McCarthy has a system that's 20 years old. I got to see it first to see if it works, and I just don't think he's the guy for Dallas.
I think Matt Rule, as far as being a CEO of a football team, is the perfect mold for that. The way he just carries himself and talks. I don't know how he is X's and O's. I want to assume he's pretty fucking good because everywhere he's went, he's won, just like a Meyer or a Saban or somebody like that. I think the only thing, that transition from college to NFL, some people do it very easy. Some people it's a little harder because you're...
The thing with Matt Rule, I'm almost certain, I know he comes from college football, but I'm almost certain before he was at Temple, he was an NFL assistant. So he's plenty familiar with the NFL. Mm-hmm. And then he's built... he built a program at Temple. He built a new program at Baylor. And he's got an owner, I think, in David Tepper at Carolina, which is, I don't think very many people are talking about, is 100% invested in building a successful franchise. I think he will do whatever it takes to get Matt Rule a winning team.
Man, I can tell you what, though. That Joe Judge hire by the Giants, what are they doing, man? They kept Gettleman. They hire some no-name who, dude, you never know. Sometimes no-names, you hit a home run with them.
I don't hate it.
Dude,
is having a special teams coach the worst idea?
No, he's not. He was their wide receivers coach.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he was the special teams coordinator too.
But man, come on, like, dude, hire Bieniemy.
I know. I agree with that.
Dude, that is the worst hire out of all of them. Who knows? Could end up being. This is like giving draft grades right after the draft. You can't do it until you see them play. But I can tell you right now, I don't think any of the hires were like, holy shit, that's I'm scared of that.
That's what I meant to say.
I think Stefanski was actually. Sorry, almost killed myself. I do think Stefanski was actually a pretty good hire. I heard like some guys pretty much talking very, very good about it. I don't know much about him, but they were saying some really good things about him. I don't even think they necessarily – dude, they need a coach – like, every team needs a coach that can be a CEO, and I actually think that Freddie Kitchens couldn't do the X's and O's or the CEO thing. Like, and you got to have one or the other, or both preferably, but, like, he was being over his head. So at least now – I think Stefanski remains to be seen of whether he can be like that guy who can, be the face of a franchise and carry it. But he's definitely better X's and O's than Freddie Kitchens, man.
I agree.
I don't know what he's doing. I mean, Baker deserves all the criticism he got because if you're going to talk all that shit, you're going to get it back. But they did him no favors. They gave him not one easy throw the entire year. Nothing. No screens. They didn't do anything for that man. So I expect a big bounce back year from him. But dude, the coaching carousel overall, I mean,
it was subpar. It was subpar.
I mean, it's just a lot of I don't like the retreads, man. Like, Rivera's a good coach, but he's not a Super Bowl coach.
Yeah, I always had a very high opinion of Ron Rivera until I heard Brian Westbrook talk. He said he has 3 playoff appearances in 8 years, and I was like, man.
And one of them was a 7-8-1 year.
Yeah.
So like, technically, he has like 2 really successful years, and then 1 year he kind of like backed into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, listen, I don't think he's bad. I think he's really like he's a leader of men. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
To listen to Ron Rivera, which says a lot. But ultimately, man, like he doesn't believe in analytics very much. I don't know, man. That's just an old school retread defensive head coach. I don't know how that's gonna work out for the Skins. The Skins are going to have a nasty-ass defense, though. I'll give them that.
I do like the idea of him coaching up that defense, especially if they get Chase Young in the draft.
And Del Rio.
Yeah, Del Rio coming in. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be scary. I'm afraid of that D-line, dude. Chase Young, Sweat, Payne, and Jonathan Allen. They get a couple depth players, that's the best D-line in the NFL, and I don't think it's close, honestly.
I would agree. Yeah, to your Stefanski point, I'll say this. I think it was DeFilippo who was the OC in Minnesota last year and got fired about halfway through the year, and they hired Stefanski. I thought the offense was better under Stefanski in Minnesota, but this year, I don't know if it might not have been him. It might have been Mike Zimmer, telling them what to do, but they looked afraid to throw the ball. And granted, when you have Kirk Cousins, you don't really know what you're going to get from him. But we'll see. I'm not sure he's the right guy for Cleveland. I would have gone in the Bieniemy or
I would have too, man.
Yeah, the Bieniemy or McDaniels route, but this is 2 years in a row where McDaniels has interviewed for jobs and no one's hired him. I think it's pretty clear. Either they don't believe in him or he's going to take over New England. I don't know, but why are you interviewing?
I would almost say that's a fact at this point. The fact, I think it was so telling last year that he literally accepted a job and then was like, never mind with the Colts.
Then why is he interviewing?
Because I think he's trying to see like what his worth is, but I just think ultimately they have a deal in place already that he's going to succeed.
I would imagine so, but
I genuinely believe that. Because why wouldn't you? I mean, dude, he could pretty much go coach any coaching vacancy that he wants. He could pretty much take his pick, and he hasn't left yet. So there's been some good ones too.
I don't mind doing it, if it's just like a thanks but no thanks situation. But this is 2 years in a row, man. I mean. Yeah. I don't know. If it's just a one-time thing, I get it, but I
think he's great X's and O's, but I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of these young coaches, man, they're gonna have a hard time leading men. Like even when it comes to like, you would
think eventually he'd tell his agent, "Look, man, I'm really happy here. Don't schedule any more interviews."
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. It's really confusing, but I genuinely think he'll be the coach of the Patriots in like 2 years.
I agree. So national championship game recap. LSU. I didn't really watch much of this game. I was at work, but I remember they were down and then scored, what felt like 20 points in a row. Joe Burrow balls out. Really not that surprising. I thought Clemson would keep it a little close. I definitely didn't think LSU would score 42 points.
Dude, I'm not going to say, because, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I love football. I'm not even a tenth as well-versed in college football as I am NFL football. Yeah. That might have been the most dominant team that I've ever watched. I don't know about the best, but, like, they actually kicked the shit out of every team they played. Literally. Yeah. Like, I don't – dude, in the last 3 years, I've never seen anyone do that to Clemson.
Yeah.
Nobody has done that to Clemson. They just ran them off the field, dude.
I mean, not even Alabama did that to Clemson.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even those tough with Tua and shit. Like, man, I just watched it and I was just like, dude, they might have 22 NFL players on LSU. Like, all jokes aside,
we've said it for years, James. I know, maybe not you, but football fans in general have said, just get LSU a quarterback. They have probably more talent than Alabama, and we finally saw that come together this year.
Yeah, Louisiana's a football factory, and let me tell you, man, like, we in my group message the other day, we had a conversation about this. I don't think Joe Burrow is even probably in the top 20 of college players of all time, but that was the best college football season of all time.
I think in general that was the best season I've seen from a quarterback. I think it was honestly might even be the best season I've seen from a team. That team did not take a step back all year long. It was all gas. You know, to quote my shirt, all gas, no fucking break. That was LSU football this year.
No, dude, it's just like he had like, because like I'd say the second most dominant football season I've seen in college was Cam Newton in 2010, and like if you look at their season, they're not even close. He blew Cam Newton's numbers out of the water.
And like Auburn that year like survived a bunch of one possession games.
Exactly. I mean, dude, like it's just crazy, and I think. I don't know if you listened to Cowherd the other day. They were doing, you know.
I'm done with Cowherd. I don't listen to him.
I know. You know, he does like the comp comparisons.
Yeah.
Like or the QB comparisons. Yeah. Who they're like. I thought he gave a perfect one. He said he's Tony Romo. Like not.
I don't think he's anything like Romo.
I do. I don't think he has a crazy strong arm. But he has a really good arm. I don't think he's overly athletic, but he's definitely really athletic enough to like wiggle around a lot in the pocket. I don't think anything Joe Burrow does is exceptional outside his intangibles, but he's really good at everything. Like, he really is.
I'll say this. If he's immediately Tony Romo, I think every team in the NFL, if you're drafting a rookie quarterback and he's a Tony Romo caliber player right off the bat, I think you're taking it. Tony Romo was a good player. I know he had some issue, Dude,
Tony Romo I think he's top 5 all time for passer rating. I mean, he is like a crazy quarterback talent. He just never could put it together in like season. He's basically the Andy Reid of quarterbacks, or I guess Dan Marino would be. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I think he's going to be a good player. I saw some people saying the Bengals could be a playoff team right off the bat next year. I don't see that, even though they have a
dude. I don't know. They're going to need some help, but if he comes in immediately, they were in a bunch of one possession games this year. They didn't.
No, they didn't
get blown out a ton.
And they're going to be like they're going to be very excited to play with Joe and everything. So it's cool. It's cool. I like it. I like Joe Burrow is a really good dude, and he's actually a Bengals fan from birth. I didn't know that. He's
I didn't either.
Ohio.
I swear to God, I saw a tweet today talking about Zach Taylor, their head coach, saying in an interview like nothing's set in stone about the first round.
Well, yeah, I mean they're not going to do that because.
And I immediately just started rubbing my temples. I'm like, do not blow this.
No, they're going to take Burrow, but like you can't just sit there and be like, yeah, we're going to take Burrow because then it just like it lets everyone else like solidify their draft boards. I mean, everyone knows they're going to take Burrow, but it's like you can't just come out and say it. I mean, that's true. I get that. I get that.
That's true.
But yeah, Joe Burrow, the man, dude, like his numbers in those 2 games against Ohio State and Clemson, absurd. I mean,
Oklahoma and Clemson.
I'm sorry. Yeah, because Clemson beat Ohio State, but like, dude, those are Oklahoma is a little less impressive, but like they beat.
Dude, he had 8 touchdowns in that game or something.
I know,
stupid.
It's crazy. I mean, he balled out like no other dude. So I don't know, man. I think it's sweet. Like he's awesome. The Odell Beckham thing, I really did want to comment on that because I love Odell Beckham. You know I do, dude. I'm an Odell Beckham fan. He needs to chill out. Like, this is the first time I've ever said that. Like, he tried to make that whole thing all about him, and apparently he was very intoxicated. But, like, come on, man. Like, let the kids have their fun. Like, you just went to school there. You didn't win that game, dude. Like, there was a bunch of former LSU players there. None of them acted like you. I don't know, man. Like, it kind of upset me because, like, I always defend Odell Beckham. He's probably my favorite player in the NFL, at least one of them. But, like, come on, man. Like, you just didn't need to do all that. He was screaming in the microphone at the thing. He slapped the cop's butt. He's handing out money. It's just like, it's always like, look at me, and it's like, dude, I get it, that's your personality, but come on, man, like that wasn't even your game. I get it if that's your game, and you're being like that. He interrupted fucking Orgeron in the middle of his speech. Like, what kind of fucking asshole
I didn't see that.
Dude, like, come on, man. He was drunk. Like, you could tell he was just extremely, extremely intoxicated and just acting stupid and attention grabbing. I don't like it. I do think the cop is a little fucking absurd for actually pressing charges.
Oh, I want to say that 100%. Like, come on, dude, he smacked you on the ass.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, dude, do something at the moment. Like, why are you pressing charges 2 days later? Like,
however, I will say this. Like, even though it's ridiculous that he even pressed charges, I will say this. Why are you touching, like, that's life 101. Like, pay your taxes, don't smack a cop on the ass. Like, don't touch a cop.
And I think everyone agrees with that. I really do. I think everyone's like, listen, dude, it's a little ridiculous that he's literally going to get, like, a criminal charge for this, but, like, dude, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just walk up and slap anybody.
That is, like, a cornerstone thing in life. Don't fuck with cops. Pay your taxes. You know, love your wife and kids. Like, that's...
Yeah, you're right. So, I honestly do, because, like, that's a criminal charge. Like, I do think he'll learn a little bit from that. I really do. I think that's the first time I've been able to confidently say he's going to learn from one of his mistakes, because that was embarrassing. I mean, people are frying, and they're just like, dude, like, even his huge fans like myself are just like, dude, like,
I'm all for having fun, but
Artist loves Odell too, and shadowing him for that shit. He was just like, dude,
why the fuck are you tossing around money in a locker room?
On the field too.
Was it on the field? I didn't see that.
He just loves attention, man. It's just what he is. It's these wide receivers, dude. They're attention whores.
I mean, I really do think, I was listening to Pat McAfee talk about it. I really think LSU could be in trouble with this.
Oh no, I think that's a guarantee, pretty much.
I don't know what, you know. Are they going to vacate wins? Probably not. But they're going to get some sort of sanction, I think.
No, absolutely. I think they're going to have to do something to make an example of that. Yeah. It's just, it's unfortunate, because it's like, dude, just why? Like, do it in private. Like,
exactly.
You do some shady shit.
Slide a cool, 20, whatever you were paying them, just underneath your hand. Hey, man, congrats.
Yeah. He's out there, like, counting through the money and
be smart. Everyone's probably doing this. Be fucking smart about it.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yep. So now this is what I was really excited to talk about, too.
Baseball?
This is honestly probably the craziest thing that I've seen in sports.
Yeah.
Maybe in my life.
Especially in the last week, like in a week. You know what I mean? Other than, like, maybe the Penn State scandal, because that happened over the course of a week.
Agreed. The Joseph Paterno thing was a little more crazy, but, like, dude, that is the most intricate and blatant cheating that I've ever seen in a professional sport. Like, ever in my life. Like, dude, when I saw, first of all, it was obvious. They showed the replays of them bagging on the trash can. You can hear it on live TV. Dude, the two things that just blew my mind and, like, literally made me say everyone involved with that should literally be at least suspended for 162 games, at least, if not a lifetime ban, was, one, the Altuve thing of him saying, keep my shirt on after that walk-off home run.
That's not good.
You are a scumbag, but the craziest thing that I saw, bro, was their splits between home and away.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Altuve was batting, like, 620 at home and, like, 210 on the road. Dude, that is impossible. That's impossible. Like, they were so blatantly cheating, and it's like, I sit there, and everyone shits on Clayton Kershaw for not being clutch and everything, and it was like, dude, if you looked at his home splits versus away in that World Series, dude, he had, like, a .8 ERA at home and, like, a 6 ERA on the road, and it's because they were fucking cheating. They knew every pitch he was going to throw.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, like, I feel bad, because it's like, Clayton Kershaw is, like, probably the best pitcher of my generation, if it definitely in the argument, and, like, dude, he could make arguments for being, like, one of the best pitchers of all time with, like, one World Series win. And, like, I feel like last year got snatched from him. I don't think that's fair at all. Or I don't know, man. That's the craziest thing that I've ever seen. How intricate that shit was. How, I mean, it just makes you think, man. What are a lot of these teams doing? Like, that's some shit, dude.
I'll be honest. When this broke, I think it was in the fall when this broke. I rolled my eyes. I'm like, whatever. Y'all are just bitter that they're in the World Series, whatever.
Yeah.
And then someone in my class did a presentation on that exact moment when you see the video and, you see the catcher give a sign and then you hear the banging on the, trash cans or the, dugout. I forget which one.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's pretty blatant cheating. Yeah, but I still didn't know. I was like, well, maybe it'll just be a, minor suspension. I'm sure everyone's doing this, kind of like, tape in practice in the NFL. And then full game year, full games or full season suspension. Then the Astros fire their manager and the GM. Next day, Red Sox fire their manager Alex Cora, who was I think apparently the brainchild of it all when he was with the Astros when they won the World Series. And then the day after that, I think yesterday, Carlos Beltran steps down as the manager of the Mets. Now Jose Altuve is in trouble for apparently. I think it's not just him. I think it's also Alec Bregman. For
dude, Jose Altuve was like.
And I love Jose Altuve. I mean,
dude, I loved him for being that small and being that good at baseball. Like. If somebody told me Jose Altuve was never allowed to play Major League Baseball again, I wouldn't even bat an eye.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
I don't think that would be too harsh. I really don't.
Yeah.
That is the most... Dude, you cheated to the point where you won a World Series and got like $100 million contract off of it. You cheated.
Yep.
That is fucking crazy to me, dude. That is crazy to me. And it's not like you said, like everyone tries to gain competitive intelligence. They're always trying to steal signs. You taping a buzzer to the right side of your body... And
that's kind of where I draw the line. I think, in all seriousness, I think everyone's stealing signs in baseball. Just like I think everyone in the NFL, knows if you, it's a little bit different, but, if you give a signal in the NFL, any kind of signal, they know what that means, probably for the most part. But I think everyone's stealing signs in baseball. That's just my opinion.
Agreed. You just can't do that, though, man.
Yeah. That was as blatant as it gets and incredibly obvious. And baseball doesn't tolerate cheating. We saw that in the steroid era. Which, by the way, I just want to say Mike Piazza saying how that would never happen in his era of baseball. Fucking bullshit. Everyone was juicing.
Get out of here. Hell yeah. Everyone was cheating back then. I missed that era. Bring that era back.
Yeah, for real. All right, so... I'm really curious to see what else happens. I mean, this is obviously something like Penn State where we're going to follow it for weeks because I don't think we're done anywhere close to being done.
No, agreed.
So now we're going to get into the conference championships. Starting the AFC, Titans at Chiefs. Chiefs a 7-point favorite. I'll be honest here, James. I think Tennessee matches up very well with Kansas City.
I agree. They cannot stop the run, and Derrick Henry might run for like 7 yards a carry on them, but I genuinely think Patrick Mahomes is just going to score too many points for Tennessee to win. I can easily see Derrick Henry running for 200 yards, though.
I do too.
But I just see it. There's no point. I don't care if they're down 14 with 10 minutes left in the game. There's no point the Chiefs are out of it. And I don't see it, man. I think the Chiefs cover. I think they win by 7.
I'll say this. When Tennessee won that game against Baltimore, my immediate reaction was they're going to the Super Bowl. I was like, I'm going to pick them to beat Houston or Kansas City because neither of those teams can stop the run particularly well. Mm-hmm. Kansas City Houston play the next day and it's 24-0 and I'm like, oh, Tennessee's going to beat Houston. I don't trust Houston to save my life. Then Kansas City scores 41 unanswered points and outscores Houston 51-7 and my thought process immediately changed. I'm like, at some point, Tennessee's going to have to score points, I think. I mean, I said that about Denver, like 4 years ago. But I'm going to go Chiefs as well. They're also getting Chris Jones back. I think that'll make a huge difference.
Is he definitely back? Because I saw that it's not 100%.
I think he practiced today. I think he was a full participant. So I think he's going to be back. Don't quote me.
That changes a lot, honestly.
I agree. But I think eventually, I said this to some classmates, I think Ryan Tannehill's going to have to throw the ball. Yep. I think he's thrown not even 200 yards passing the last 2 games. And Derrick Henry's been a monster, but I think they are going to have to score points eventually. Kansas City, it doesn't matter. I think if you have the ball for 40 minutes, 20 minutes is enough to keep it a game for Kansas City. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think it's a very close game, though, like 24-20.
I got 34-27 Chiefs.
I could see that. Now we go to my game, the NFC Championship game. James, I'm going to take this one.
All right, go ahead.
I'll be honest. With these last 2 years, with Green Bay being below average, I'm kind of just happy to be in this position. Yep. I did not expect us to be 14-3 NFC Championship with both teams. Honestly, with 3 of these 4 teams. Tennessee, San Francisco, Green Bay. I think you look at it. If you lose on Sunday, I think you're just kind of, you know what?
You're building towards.
I'm just kind of happy. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. Kansas City's the only one where if they lose, you're like it's a disappointment.
Yeah, I can see that.
And for Green Bay, like my friend was asking me the other day, he was like, how do you feel about Green Bay? And I was like, I'm really just happy to be in this position. I just chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I hope your team doesn't feel that way.
I know. But he was calling me. He was like, you want to win so bad. I was like, obviously I want to win the Super Bowl, but no one picked us to be at this point, so I'm just happy. And I feel very similar to the NFC Championship game against Seattle back in 2014. Green Bay went in that game. I didn't give them a chance to win. The national media didn't give them a chance to win. I was just happy to be there. They dominated the game for 55 minutes, and then some flukes happened and they lost, but I feel very similar to that, and it's a similar situation. Green Bay went to Seattle in 2014, first game of the year, got trounced, had a completely different game plan, looked like a completely different team in the playoffs. Same thing with Green Bay this year in San Francisco. Went to Santa Clara a few weeks ago, got trounced. Could be a whole different situation this year, or this week. And I think that score is a little misleading too. That game came down to 3 plays. The strip sack to Aaron Rodgers on the first possession of the game set the tone early 7-0 deficit. The bomb to, I think, Deebo Samuel, the bomb to George Kittle. That's 21 points right there. For the most part, I thought Green Bay's defense played pretty well. Take away those 21 points, it's 16-8. The score is 16-8. So I don't know. What do you think? I just wanted to get that out of the way.
I think ultimately, when you get to this point in the year, like genuinely, and this is just football cliches, but like you genuinely have a very good chance to win. If you're asking me what I think is going to happen, you might not like me, Shane. I don't think this game's particularly close, and I'm going to tell you the difference is the D-line. I just see it's going to be Aaron Rodgers going to be running his ass off, and if he can make some of those broken plays, and let me put it this way, if you can get 2 long touchdowns, whether it's a defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown, bombs, screen that goes for the very good chance of winning. If you can't get some long plays, I don't see you getting these 12, 13-play drives all the way down the field, man. And I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely am pulling for the Packers because I want Aaron Rodgers to be cemented as a top 4 or 5 quarterback ever. If he gets a second ring, I don't even think it's a debate. You could argue him top 2 or 3, to be honest with you. So I'm pulling for that. It's that D-line is just, I think that's something you never have to worry about choking. Mm-hmm. The D-line is, dude, just you go get the quarter. You can't choke passing rushing the passer. You just can't. So that's something that's going to carry. They're at home. I wouldn't be afraid to play at Levi Stadium, to be honest with you. But I think your best chance is Jimmy G just shitting the bed, which could easily happen. It's
entirely possible.
Could easily happen, but I genuinely think that I think there's just a talent discrepancy in the trenches, and I think that ultimately is going to be the difference in the game. Aaron Rodgers can pull a game out of his asshole, though. We all know that. So,
yeah, I actually do agree with you. I think San Francisco's too good in the trenches. They're too physical up front offensively. They got a really good run game. And then I think Green Bay's going to play a lot better second matchups in the NFL. If you get a chance to play a team twice, it can be a complete 180.
Yep.
But I still don't think Green Bay matches up well at all with San Francisco. I'm just struggling to find where Green Bay would have the mismatch. I'm holding Green Bay to the same way I held Seattle last week. I can't find the mismatch. It's going to take some turnovers. It's going to take a lot. I'm going to take San Francisco to win, and I think kind of, sort of going away. But, like, it's a much closer game, and they score a late touchdown, to kind of close it.
I think they cover backdoor. I think they score, like, a touchdown or a field goal late to just kind of put it away. Yeah. I think it's going to be, like, 27-17, somewhere in that range.
That's what I said. Something like that.
Sadly, I don't see – what are you fucking doing? What are you doing? Dude, you're fucking kidding me. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm just – if they can get in short passes, run the ball well, get out of 3rd and long, I think they got a pretty good chance. But that's a tall order.
Honestly, man, you know what I would do? Because this is what, like, ultimately Kyle Shanahan is just – he's a wizard. Dude, I would just blitz my fucking ass off the whole day and just hope that just wrecks the X's and O's. Because what happens, I mean, if you roll it to Aaron Rodgers and they pick it all up, you pretty much got a touchdown scored on you. But, like, I don't know if Jimmy G can – if he's running for his life all day from the Smith brothers.
And I will say this, Green Bay got pressure on him in the first game. Granted, I think San Francisco was out, didn't have their 2 tackles, but they got pressure on him.
No, and that's what I'm saying. And I think – I don't know, man. I do think that Green Bay does – have a good chance of winning the game. I just don't think that's going to happen.
I wouldn't be shocked if they won the game. I'll be a little surprised, but I'm just struggling to see a mismatch right now. Any kind of advantage Green Bay has outside of,
Well, I would say quarterback, but
yeah,
that's pretty much it. Maybe offensive line. You guys had a pretty good offensive line.
I think San Francisco.
I think you have a better individual running back, but their running game is better.
Yeah. I don't trust Green Bay's defense to stop the run.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I would just send the house all day.
I would. I mean, I don't know much about X's and O's. I would try a 3 safety look and have Adrian Amos on George Kittle at all times because I think Kevin King and Jair can match up well with Emmanuel Sanders and Deebo Samuel. Just have Adrian Amos on George Kittle.
Bro, I might put Jair on Kittle.
I just said him because he's bigger. Jair's only about 5'10", but
I don't know, man. I might put my best corner on Kittle because that's what teams do to Philly with Ertz because he's all they got and they shut him down. I mean, they really do. I would, dude. I would put a corner and then bracket a safety on Kittle, and it's like, dude, if you stop Kittle from having 100 yards, like I legitimately think you have a very good chance. I mean, that dude, he is Gronk. I mean, I do think he's pretty much as good. I think he's 90% of what Gronk was in his prime, which is like one of the best compliments you can give somebody. I mean, he is insane. Like, he is insane. He is 10 out of 10 blocker, 10 out of 10 catching the ball, 10 out of 10 after the catch. Like, he is just a baller. I think he's maybe slightly smaller than Gronk, which might take away from that, but like, that should be the only player on that whole team, on the whole offense, you should be really worried about because he's the only elite player they have.
Yeah, I'm not really that worried about Emmanuel Sanders, Deebo Samuel. They'll get theirs, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're really world beaters outside of Kittle.
Agreed. But I think it's going to be some good football this weekend.
I think so too. Hopefully, come Monday, I'll be a very happy man. But I think it's still a tall order to ask this team to even win to win a Super Bowl, let alone the NFC Championship. So.
Exactly.
We were on the subject of tight ends. Have you watched that new Aaron Hernandez documentary yet?
I just finished it last night, and it blew my mind. Dude.
Really? Was it good?
I did not know he was gay.
He was gay?
Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it. No, I haven't watched it.
Dude, he used to fuck his quarterback in high school.
Hey, dude, to quote Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, but
well,
I'm a little surprised to hear that.
I had no idea. Like, I had no idea. Yeah, like, if you're gay, more power to you, dude. But, like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I'm going to have to watch it.
Dude, it's good. It's definitely worth a watch. It's very interesting.
I got a question. Did they make it seem like it was... Did they blame his, mental deficiencies on CTE or his upbringing?
I wouldn't say they blamed it, but they definitely left it up to interpretation that he had a semi-bad upbringing, even though he really didn't, and he did. I mean, he did have CTA when they studied it,
right?
But like, I wouldn't say they blamed it, but they definitely left the door open for interpretation there. That could be the case.
I've listened to people talk about it, and I just, at what point, do we just say mental illness? I mean, instead of CTE.
I mean, he was like, when you watch the documentary, you'll pick up on he was clearly a mentally ill gentleman.
Yeah.
It was a pretty sad documentary.
I would imagine it is.
Documentaries because they frame information so that they almost tried to make you feel bad for him that he had like a bad upbringing, but he really didn't. His dad was like a lot of stuff that I learned that I didn't know. His dad was like the king of Bristol, Connecticut. Like his dad was an all-American running back who went to UConn.
Yeah.
So like his dad was like the king of the town. Like he grew up in a 2-parent household. Like his family's famous in Bristol. Like before all this happened. So like it's not like he grew up in an impoverished area with no father.
Right.
Like that's not the case. This is really not. That's why I didn't like the way they framed that he had like a bad upbringing because he fucking didn't. He just didn't.
I was listening to McAfee talk about it. He made it seem like the mom is pretty crazy.
Well, the mom wasn't great, and you'll see why. Like his dad ends up passing away, and she wasn't the greatest mother. But like doesn't mean you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you see what he did. Like, dude, he
he killed other people that he got off the hook.
I didn't know it was as obvious as it was. Like when I just knew he got convicted or whatever, sentenced to jail.
Dude, they found his blunt next to Odin Lloyd's body.
I didn't know any of that, and I'm like, is this dude that dumb?
That's what I'm saying. I learned so much about that whole situation. Dude, it's interesting. Go watch it. That would be my final words for this. For this little podcast.
This is a good final thoughts. Go watch it. Okay, I'll watch it this weekend.
Awesome. All right, brother, man.
Always good to talk to you. Hopefully, we do this a little bit more often.
Well, I'll be texting you throughout the weekend for some football thoughts, man. When are we going to do some mock drafts?
Soon, probably as soon as the Super Bowl's over.
It's not draft season for you. It's draft season for me.
It's draft season for me when the clock hits 000 this weekend or in 2 weeks. It doesn't matter, but.
Yep. But all right, brother. Good to talk to you, man.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
Later, bro.